Hi, and welcome to another tier list. And this is something that I'm totally interested to do for a very long time. Ever since I got into Starfield, I've just been looking at perks, and I was thinking I would actually go into like high levels and be able to get all the perks. However, because the game is like such a huge grind, I end up getting really behind. Well, I mean, not behind, but it just takes me a very long time to reach my desired level of 320. But according to this game, right now at the moment is that I'm level 208, and I've also activated all the perks at least level 1, which means I can get to go through all the perks and rate them from S to E, wherever that is. So what I have here is this tier list. If I just sort of look over this top layer there, normally I would put all the perks within all those categories. So it'll be ranked between S rank, which is like really good, and it goes all the way down to D, which means it's not that essential, but it still works. Also added another category for avoiding it if it's not worth your skill points, because with perks you always have to spend skill points to unlock them, as well as upgrading them, which is unlike like Skyrim and Oblivion there. But if there's a perk that is absolutely essential and needs to be unlocked, this goes in the double S rank, so is pretty much like all activated there. So what I'm gonna do is, there's a total of 84 perks in the game, which you can see here. It's quite a lot to go through. So normally I would be looking at them based on how useful they are, but there's other properties with it, which means like they come with a certain bonuses, and see if those bonuses are actually really worth having, or something that is like really enhances your character in such a way. Also, with the example of the instigation, there's a challenge progress that tells you how far you get into it, so I'm also judging them based on how easy you can level them up. So I'm on New Game Plus in the moment, and I've been doing leveling up of all those perks, and some of them are not like fully upgraded, but others I've already got them ready to be upgraded, and yet I only have about 5 skill points in order to which I can use them to upgrade them. But because it takes a long time now to like level up all the way to 300 now, I may not get so many skill points, and therefore it's just going to take a really long time to do that. So the whole point of this video is just give you hopefully a thorough opinion on whether those perks are going to be really useful for your skill points or not. So, as to avoid me being really biased with this, I've decided to bring someone over as a guest who would comment and help me put the perks into the rightful ranks or grades. So I'm going to bring back Lewis, who is also known as Potatochief, and he will be summoned right now. Hello.
Oh my god, I just went through the Unity and I'm here. Hi. I'm honoured to be a guest on your YouTube channel, Alice. Really appreciate it.
You mean our channel?
I know, it's because you called me a special guest, so I had to.
Well,
but you can't get rid of You can't get rid of me, Alice. I'm here. You'll never be able to get rid of me. I'm gonna always be here.
Well, I can't easily get rid of you because it's just like getting rid of the chips from the steak.
Wow. Who's the steak and who's the chips? It doesn't matter. I'm level 38, so I haven't actually used all the perks, but I've used quite a lot of them and I've done research on them. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to add an opinion on it, but obviously you've used them all, so I would say you're the expert when it comes to perks, but I will still voice my opinion if I disagree with something or yeah. So you have them all listed out. You've tried them all. This is going to be an interesting tier list. and we love this game. The masterpiece that is Starfield.
Right. So, without further much ado, I think it's only been like a 5-minute intro. So we're going to start off with, as we're going through from each category, which there's physical, there's social, and there's combat, and it goes all the way to a really good tier trees, which is like science and tech. But even though the leftmost ones are like not so good, once you get to have like a lot of them into this whole tree, it gets really useful into, say, combat, for instance. So therefore it's worth like going through all the perks and trying to shove them into this tier list. So let's begin. This one, which is known as boxing, where you use unskilled attacks. Yep, that's right.
In the bin. Useless. Unless you're doing an all melee build, then I've heard it's pretty much useless. I mean, you can go into more detail. But from what I've heard, useless trait.
This one is like, it's not entirely useless. It's just, if you go in a walkthrough and you stick to like unarmed attacks, then this will be it. But most of the time you'll be using guns, and sometimes if you want to do melee, you just use knives. This one only gives you like bonuses for unarmed attacks, whereas it only like lets you use less O2, which is more effective for some of the melee attacks. But this one, you need to use unarmed attacks all the time, which is kind of a bit of a red herring in some aspects. Funny enough, I did 2 unarmed attacks for this, but I still expecting to be a zero, and it just shows like how less useful this whole thing is. So I probably don't recommend it. No, exactly.
I regret using one of my skill points on that perk, because as soon as I did it, I'm like, that was worthless. I wish I didn't do that. No.
Yes. Right, so with that cat out of the bag, and after a blistering good start, this is in the void pile. So now we just stick to what is known as fitness. Fitness. Well, I think it's not absolutely essential, because what it does is...
It helps, though.
Yes, what it does is it just cuts down, like... Well, it's not cuts down, it just gives you more oxygen. And you could think as if it's good for the overcumbered or something like that. But I think the only thing you will find it most useful is like when you sprint. Because I think according to fitness there that, if I can just bring up the game, it gives you more oxygen. But when you do actually level up to like rank 4, you get more it uses less oxygen for sprinting and power attacks. So, and this is why, like, if you sprint all the time, you find this useful. But there's a power, like, if you're able to unlock it, which is like, I think it was a personal amphisphere. This one already, like, uses up your oxygen, and you can sprint as much as you want. I mean, therefore, it's not that good. And I can already tell it takes a bit longer to use up all available oxygen, which is a bit glitchy. Like, well, I don't know. It sometimes doesn't register. It sometimes registers when you least expect it. So it's just like, probably not.
I'm always struggling with the oxygen thing. I'm always like running out of oxygen, but you could use your jetpack or whatever it's called. You can use the jetpack to like stop doing that. You can use grav jumping, and you can use the extra oxygen power that you talked about. Also, there's a trick that if you look down the scope, you can like regain your oxygen and still move. You move very slowly, but it does regain your oxygen. So it's helpful, but I don't think it's that helpful. I think it's like I wouldn't put it very high myself, but I'll let you have the final call on it.
In addition to boost pack, I mean, this one, you can still use up oxygen if you're overcumbered if you use a boost pack. It's only like when you sprint and you notice it, but if you run when overcumbered, you still like use up oxygen. But I think with this one, I would say put it into the C rank because I think it might be useful for some, but it's not something that is truly recommended. Now, next one is we're gonna have ourselves the first S rank thing. Sneak.
Ooh.
Well, actually, no, it's not S. Actually, I think it could be S because
S.
this one not exactly the best, but it's also really essential because when you go through Region and Crimson Fleet, you may appreciate having put in some extra points in it, which is what I'm trying to do at the moment for this perk, which allows me to make it less likely for me to be detected by other enemies. And you think you'll find it most useful doing Region and Crimson?
You need the base level of it just so you can have the bar at the top saying if you're visible as well, which is really useful.
Yes.
So
that's
level 4 you go visible as well, or am I thinking of a different one?
I think you're probably thinking of a different one because
Okay.
there are some perks that it locks certain features behind it, and there are some perks where I'm going to go through, and that includes target computing. And this one, hides the stealth bar, which, at first I thought, oh, I don't know if there's any a stealth bar, but when you unlock this perk, you get a stealth bar, which is a bit more detailed, overly detailed compared to the one in Skyrim or the Oblivion. So it just pretty much gives you that. Also, it makes it easier to make some good damage, but I think the biggest difference here is that you get less known when you go through the places with the highest sneak level, and also there's a certain actions don't actually alert others. So I think with this perk, and if you're looking to make a build for Crimson or even Region, this is really important. It just sucks that you have to spend skill points on it in order to sneak properly. So that's the thing.
So I got rank 1 on this. I've been trying to unlock rank 2, but I can never pull off the sneak attacks properly because you need to pull off sneak attacks to increase your progression. So yeah, you got to perform 40 there to get to rank 3. I had to perform 10, I think, to get to rank 2, and I can never pull off the sneak attacks properly. I always end up messing them up. So I think that's a bit tricky, and it's a lot easier to do in Skyrim and other Bethesda games. I don't know why it's so hard in this game.
Well, it's easy. If you have a good weapon like a sniper or a long-range rifle, if you go the distance and try not to be detected from afar, and it's easy to do in planets or where you deal with spaces, you just crouch, aim, shoot, and you get sneak attacks, which is good.
Oh, okay.
But then there's also a chameleon, which I will get to, and this involves doing melee attacks, and this is much worse. At least this one is a bit more forgiving. So with that, sneak is on the S rank. So next one. The next one is that if I can get this up. This one is weightlifting, and I'm going to put it into A.
Yeah.
You recommend a S rank?
Well, I think it's essential in this game because of the amount of overcumbered stuff. I suppose you can still play the game and be overcumbered, but it pisses me off so much how often I'm overcumbered, and I've made sure that was one of the first things I got to max level, just so I have a bigger inventory so I can carry more stuff. I just wish they didn't have the overcumbered system, really, and then I wouldn't even need this perk, but yeah, I feel like it's fixing a problem that shouldn't be there, to be honest, but there you go.
Well, I think we're just going in the more multifaceted approach on how we deal with this, but for the purposes of this video, weightlifting does actually increase how much you can carry, but the reason that I would be put into the A, because while it's good to level up, and you can also add more to your carry limit, it's just how this perk is designed is what gives me a problem. And that's where one of my reasons for doing this video is to discuss about this. So, if you go over to weightlifting, this mainly increases your carry limit, and I think it can go up by about 185 kilograms. So you add 185 to your total carrying limit. Also, you gain 50% resistance to stagger, which is useful if you're doing melee or you're dealing with some aliens, and that's useful. But my biggest gripe with this is that it only adds instead of multiplying how much you can carry. Like, if you say like you get a spacesuit on that adds extra points to your carry limit, it doesn't make a difference whether you have this rank or not, because it only adds to your total limit there. Which is why, like, if it multiplies and even adds things that makes it easier for you to deal with the overcombents, that would have been a much better rank. But if it's based for most people, this is essential because, like you said, overcombents is pretty much a big problem, and I can see many people would be seeking this perk. Because if it wasn't for this huge over-incumbent problem, this one would not actually be necessary. So,
no,
I would say
it's not a fun.
It is. So I would say this is definitely an A rank than an S rank.
I would say it's not a fun perk, but it's a necessary perk. Unfortunately, just because of the way the game's designed. I wish they didn't have overcumbent, but hopefully when I get a PC and I can mod it, I'm going to get rid of overcumbent and I'll be happy. You know, then I don't need any of it. Wish it wasn't in the game.
If you can find a mod for it. But anyway, this one, this heart here, this is what is called as wellness, and you're not too keen with it.
It's all right. I mean, it's useful, but it's not like mind blowing. It just gives you extra health. If you're struggling with the game, then it's useful to have. But I found the game quite easy, so I didn't really. But I don't know. I think it's useful. I mean, it's always nicer to have more health, I suppose.
Well, it's
just a boring one, isn't it?
It is, and it doesn't take that much to. Like, it's very easy to level up, and you can get more ranks, which, according to this game, like, it only increases your maximum health, and I don't know if it stacks, because, I don't know, if anyone can confirm what the wellness does, let me know in the comments, or whether that increases the amount of health you got. But there's far better ways to, like, get better health, and whether it's through armor, other perks, and everything. This one, however, it helps, but it doesn't make a huge difference, and I still get laser damage whichever way possible, because as I increase in levels, the enemies like punch harder, and you can still like lower the difficulty if it's too much. So therefore, I'm just gonna have to say D for this one, because
D, okay.
I think to be honest, it could have been the C tier, like around here, but when it comes to like how practical it is, I mean, it's easy to level up, but it doesn't add much apart from like increasing your maximum health, so it just goes into the D rank.
Yeah, I get that. I say it's a useful one to have, but it's like kind of boring. And also, most of my deaths have been in space, to be honest, in space battles instead of in shootouts, because the shootouts are actually quite easy in this game, even when you're on a harder difficulty, to be honest. Maybe that's because I'm a Halo veteran, but
that pretty much like vindicates about how less you.
Oh yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me agreeing.
But anyway, so the next one is this one that increases the resistance to electromagnetic energy. No, actually, it's the energy weapon dissipation, which deals with energy resistance. You can increase it with, like, I would say, mods to your spacesuits and everything. But this one, I'm really surprised, like, how incredibly easy it is to level up. And I already got into, like, max rank here. And it also has ability to reflect energy attacks. The only thing that gets
funny.
Yeah, the only thing
that is funny.
Yeah, the only thing that makes it really good is the fact when you get in much later into the main story, you encounter some special enemies, and they tend to rely on energy weapons. And this is where like I leveled up so much, which makes it like more useful. But like again, it's not like a noticeable difference. So I think for this reason, energy weapon dissipation is like C rank.
Yeah, I get that. I think the occasional zapping people is quite hilarious, but apart from that, I don't really. No. Again, it's the same thing we were saying about the shootouts are quite easy in this game anyway, so having resistance to electric damage isn't the end of the world anyway. Just heal. Just go behind cover and have a med pack or whatever, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Go.
Next one is the environmental conditioning, and this increases the resistance on how you get afflictions based on an environment. And this one, I would say it's not something you would need, because I think I have been getting the afflictions from the environment before, and I mean, it just doesn't make sense, because while it's useful because I've been on like different planets, but it's just trying to figure out what the hell is supposed to work like, because in the game it gives you more resistance to different kinds of damage from the environment, and it has a reduced chance to gain afflictions from environmental damage sources, which is pretty much one that you're looking for, but you had to like slog through all these levels. So for this one, you had to take some environmental damage. If you've been exploring like so many planets, you can do this, but to be honest, I've been surviving so much without a need for this environmental conditioning. So for this reason, it's just definitely going to be in D rank.
I agree. Also, like it's quite easy to heal yourself from any environmental damage you have. Like, or you can just sleep in a bed, or just use a med pack, or what's it called? Like it's a certain I can't remember what it's called now. It's a specific pack that fixes most environmental damages. I forgot what it's called now. Like a the thermal pack or something. I can't remember what it's called. But
don't worry.
It's very easy to fix.
Yeah,
it's very easy to fix.
Just basically say that it's very easy to recover yourself from those afflictions, and
yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah, you have a much bigger problem of overcumbrance, but apart from that, it's just like, yep, this is definitely D. So, next one is gymnastics. I've been playing Halo Infinite, and I just feel like when I crouch, I don't slide, and this unlocking this perk is what gives you this one, so you can like slide, and I thought it was really cool, but it doesn't have that much of a utility in comparison, which this one, it lets you like do combat side, and it reduces fall damage, and that's how you level up this the first perk, rank 1 of this perk, and you get increased jump height, but these are like pretty much like insignificant with the boost pack. Also, it gives you a better maneuverability with the zero gravity spaces, and this is where this perk falters, because it's very rare to be in the zero gravity situation and you deal with the enemies. And it's only been, I think I only remember one time when I was in zero G and I had to like shoot enemies. So this one, I think it's better to not spend any points into it, and I think it's a bit gimmicky. So actually, I think I'm thinking of like D or C. What do you think?
I'd probably put it in D. It's very situational. Doesn't really have much. The slide is cool, but like that's it really. As you said, boost pack. You like extra jump. You can do that with your boost pack. And when do you ever get full damage? It's very rare. If you just the only time you get full damage is if you forget to use your boost pack. Like I'm always boost pack at the last second and survive any fall. It's very rare that I'll take full damage in this game. So pointless, really, honestly.
Now, this one is nutrition, and I found out there's a bit of usefulness with it. This one involves eating food and drink, and if you go through this, then any food you consume will give much better effects. And I think it does look like it only goes up, it caps out only 50% more effectiveness. Like, but there's some of the certain side effects of food, that's really good. Yes. I also found out that there's some bits of food that gives you like 2% XP, and I was kind of a bit gutted that I don't think there has yet to be sort of food item that gives you like more than like 2%. But if you have maximum rank in this, you get 3% of XP. But that's it. It's just like a slight difference, and this is only good if you're doing like serious power leveling. Like if you like level 10 and you get it up to like rank 4, then this will be very useful in the long run. But the only problem is that at the moment, to eat food and drink, you had to go in inventory and consume food and drink. So once the professor's like adds a feature where you can consume food directly from the gameplay, this might get more useful. But I think with this, I'm more inclined to put it into the C rank as a benefit of the doubt, because otherwise it's not something you would need. So I'm just going to put white in there.
Yeah, that's good. I agree with all of that what you've just said. So I haven't really got anything to add.
So pain tolerance, like
need that.
Yeah, I think this one, I think you could consider this to be useful. Also, like, it's very extremely easy to level up because I think it's just based on the amount of damage you take. But when I look at the bonuses, it's becoming more obvious about what's the issue with this one, because you can only reduce the amount of damage up to like 15%. Also, it only gets really useful with your health though, and that ignores physical damage. But I think, to be honest, it's just kind of a bit useless, and I think we can pretty much live without doing it. Given how scarce, how difficult it is to get skill points where you have higher level, I think it's best to get this when you're like really close to 300. But apart from that, there are far better perks to increase instead of going for this one. So I think in this... Yes?
Also, it's only a 5% chance of having resistance, so you're going to get yourself down to red. It's like, oh, I might, in like a 1 in 20 chance, I might not get any damage. It's like, that's not really worth it. So that's not very good special perk for the rank 4, honestly. So that's kind of a waste. I agree.
Yeah. Do you think it will be a D, or is it just a void, is it?
Personally, I would put it in the bin. I'd avoid it, but you can put it in D if you want. It's up to you. You're the judge.
I think I would just stick it into a void because I just feel there are far better perks to spend on instead of this one, and it just kind of is pretty much on the same tier as like wellness, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, this is definitely in the void pile. But anyway, this one is what is known as cellular regeneration, and I think this deals on like how you deal with afflictions. Let's just go check the game and see if I'm right.
Isn't it like it heals you?
Yeah, it just gives you a chance to recover from injuries naturally, but I think it's a bit vague, and also it just kind of reduces the chance of you getting the injury. But I think, to be honest, it's just like I don't know how quick it allows you to recover from injuries, but I think most of the time you'd be like, oh, I got the injury, I need to get everything to inventory to use as some aid and recover with it. So I don't think there's a huge amount of difference with it. Also, I found that the rank 4 effect, I mean, this could have been like 50% chance or have a better chance of resisting the injury.
Yeah,
so
1 in 5 is not good.
So therefore, it's a bit of a weak perk, to be honest. So
I agree.
I'm just gonna have to put it in like D, and that's how I feel about it. Like, it could be useful for you, but I just don't see much use out of it, to be honest.
I agree.
So next one is a decontamination, which allows you to recover from infections. What infections? Do you know what the infections look like?
No, not really.
Avoid.
I don't think so.
Don't spend any points on that one. Doesn't make sense. So next one is martial arts. And this is like the much better perk compared to boxing, because with this one is where you have an increased chance to do a critical damage with a melee or unarmed attack. So, and then, like where you using a melee weapon or unarmed, you can take less damage, and even like reflect damage if you're blocking a melee or unarmed attack. So I think this is quite cool. But there is one issue with it, and you have to deal some damage with unarmed attacks. So I haven't actually properly know what the challenge entails, but I feel this is another one of those unarmed attack perks, and I feel as if no one's likely to get into this perk. So I think really like some of the perks, since I unlocked them, I had to like punch people in the face with this one. So I just feel like, I don't know, it is a high risk one, and I think it's not worth it. But if you're able to like power level this one and get more point ranks for it, then it might be worth your time, but I don't really recommend it. So in that case, this one goes into D because of the unarmed reliability. Could be changed, it could not. So it will just remain there. But if it gets any better with like updates, it'll move up to C or even B.
It's better than boxing, but boxing is awful, so it's not much better. It's like the slight improvement on boxing. Yeah, I agree with that totally.
Now, last 3 ones of social.
Ooh.
Chameleon. I like to think as if it like deserves an S tier, and I think it's pretty much for the good reason, because, well, actually no, it's not. No, it's not Chameleon. It's actually Concealment, which, if I bring this up, rank 1 is like so amazing. You can't get to set off enemy mines. Also, as you increase in rank, it makes it easier for you to hide from enemies, and it also like increases sneak attack bonuses, so you can go up to like 4 of the mobile damage, and melee sneak attacks do up to 10 times mobile damage. So if you combine this with sneak, you will become like incredibly powerful, and I just feel like this is like really cool, and it is one of like the most fun perks. The only problem with this one is, which even prevents it from the double S rank, is that this one you have to perform melee unarmed sneak attacks, and I don't know about the sneak perk, but you would easily get caught out if you walk close to the enemy. So you can't easily do that with epileptics or spaces. You have to either go to the different planet to like melee attack animals, or even sneak up on non-hostile humans, which means you just end up cheesing or getting bounties. And I'm not really like a huge fan of that. So,
no.
But apart from that, the bonuses are just amazing, and I would absolutely recommend it, which is why it just goes into S rank.
Also, at tier 3, you unlock the chameleon ability where you basically go invisible if you stand still when you're at rank 3, which is pretty cool.
Pretty much like tracks.
Nice. Yeah, move very slowly.
Anyway, this one. Now, it's been pointed out that this perk, which is known as, I think it's a nearest strike one. This one,
right? Yeah,
it's been shown in the Starfield area, and it's been used so you can like pacify anyone by unarmed attacks. And I think it can be used in 1 or 2 situations. But this one, I can't see this being a useful perk because it does rely exclusively on unarmed attacks. And
so it's ninja all over again.
Well, it also needs like involves stealth, getting close to the enemy, and using some attacks there. So therefore, this one is unfortunately like pretty useless. And I would put it into the 40 because it could be just worse than boxing when it comes to leveling up. But it can be good for a very rare instances, So therefore, this one should be in the void pile.
Put it in the bin.
Now, the last one of the physical tree is regeneration. Originally, because it's like so late in the game that it doesn't like seem to be that useful. It lets you to slowly regenerate outside of the combat, and I think it's kind of a good. But I think you most likely get regeneration with like spacesuit mods, and you then notice it that way. But I think it's better for you to like use items during combat, and once you get through it, you can like regenerate outside the battle. But then, the only times where you can regenerate during combat is like with higher ranks. So, but I think for the purposes there, I think I would be willing to put it in the B rank. Like, I mean, it could have been better and be unlocked much earlier in the game, because it's more of a late game perk, but I think the bonuses could work in the long run, so I would say B.
Yeah. It's weird to me that it's such a late perk for me, because like, obviously, it's such a standard in first-person shooters to have regenerating health. The fact that you'll have to wait so long to get it is kind of crazy to me, because it feels like you finally get used to not having it, and then you actually unlock the ability to get it. Then it's like, oh, it's like I've got used to not using you. Okay, so it's like, I think it's useful, but yeah, boring and not as good as some of the other perks on this list. I agree with you. B sounds good. Thank you for listening to the X Marks the Box podcast. Follow us at X Marks Box on Twitter or X Marks the Box on YouTube. And follow us on all audio podcast services. Thanks for listening.